Huge stakes for the Bombers on Sunday when they host the Dockers at the G. Time to welcome in our watchlisters, the freshly shaven David King and Joey Montagna.
Have you shaved yet?
Hey. What?
And so you had a shave yet?
Clipper. Jerry wouldn't have said that. I did take half my lip off on the way. But anyway.
You've just rubbed off the concealer. Anyway, let's get into the watch list, starting with Hawthorn.
Oh, I want to start with, it's not specific to Hawthorn, but there are a lot of Hawthorn players that have the ability to draw head-high tackles in the forward 50. And it's a frustration for opposition fans. I think it's brilliant. I love it, because when you look at the final series last year, we had 5 of the 9 finals decided by 7 points or fewer, and only 1 final was more than 4 goals. This will be a factor in the finals. Make no mistake about it. So if you've got an asset that can create shots at goal for you, why not use it? Why not embrace the fact that Watson has done it more than any other player, that Ginnivan's up there. I think they got 4 in the top 10. But to me, everyone argues the mechanics of it, and is it, they get angry with the result being a free kick. But I think if you can challenge the opposition player to get his tackle right, it actually makes you question the worth of actually going in unorganised for a tackle with this panic method. Like, if you've got a lunge to tackle, why tackle? You're going to give up the shot anyway. So you're almost better off just corralling and not acting that desperate at the point of contact. Maybe harass, maybe pressure, maybe corral a little bit, but that there. And I understand the players are getting frustrated with their own, but I love it. Oh, I think it's terrific, Joey. I know you've probably got a different version, Robbo and Joey and Kath, but I don't really care what the opposition supporter base think. If you're going to give me 6 shots at goal a month like this, I'm taking it.
Yeah, well, there are 2 different takes, aren't there? If it's your team and it's that player, you do everything you can to try and win a free kick and get a shot at goal. So you can't blame the player. It's interesting looking at all these, because I remember when it was going around when Luke Shuey was one that used to do a lot, and it was always a free kick. And then it felt like the AFL said, no, we don't want them free kick. We're going to stamp that out. If you raise the arm, we're not paying it free kicks anymore. And now it felt like it went over and overcorrected, and probably off the back of Jack Ginnivan. And now they're getting paid again.
Now it's come back again.
So if you can do it and you get a free kick, well, players are going to continue to do it. So
the Hawks are getting twice as many as the second-ranked team, which is Collingwood and also the Gold Coast. So I question the worth of tackling in the D50. Do you absolutely have to stick the tackle? Because it's going to separate a final. It'll guarantee it'll happen in a final. And we know there are already going to be small margins given the season that we've had. I think clubs really now need to look at their mentality down back. The actual worth. Is it worth us taking the risk here, knowing that everyone's going to angle their body, lower their height, dip their shoulder, lift their arm, do whatever they can to draw the high. What do you think, Robert?
Oh, I'm thinking the AFL is looking at that segment and that list that you just put up, and clubs are going to contact the AFL and say, hey, we can't allow this to happen. But I'm with you. If you're coaching Hawthorn, get a shot at goal. Yeah. Get a shot at goal.
And if I'm another team or another player that has that in the repertoire and has probably thought about putting it away because they...
no.
Oh, bring it back out.
I want my name in there.
If it's going to separate a final, bring it back out and do it in the final.
If the AFL pulls up on it this week...
Oh, I apologise in advance to Waitman and Paul Francis and Nick Watson.
Joey, you wanted to take a look at the Brisbane Lions and particularly Cam being the man.
Yeah, I think we should just have a bit more of a deep dive on the Brisbane Lions and why now for me and for a lot of people, they are the premiership favourites.
Is it positive?
It's positive.
Because you were negative against Essendon last week and hit them between the eyes.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
Yeah.
And you reckon you're spot on?
Wow. No, I'm not. No, that's up for them how they want to perform. We're just trying to present something for the people at home. And I mean, Brisbane has been a big talking point. And I just want to take a look at these are their numbers right now since the bye. So their last 8 weeks, they're obviously 8 and zip, and it is potent what they are doing offensively. So obviously they're averaging 107 points per game. You can see the spread there. The ball movement from the back half, best in the competition. They're second from scores from the back half. Best scores from forward half. They're doing everything at the moment. Clearance game is really strong. And even their points against, they are 6th in the competition for points against. So it's not like they're playing in shootouts. And I just think it's worth noting how well they are going. And it's sort of following a bit of a similar trajectory to me for Geelong 2022, where they won those final 16 games. They were ticking every box. and then they blew everyone away in the finals. I just feel maybe it's just starting to build like that. And the one man that epitomises that has been the form of Cam Rayner. So this has been the same period. The last 8 weeks, you can see what he's doing there. Like he's kicked the 14 goals, had 18 score assists, so directly assisted in scores, which is the third most in the competition in that time. So scoreboard impact, he's third. Only Charlie Curnow and Toby Green have had more influence, and he's the third-rated forward. But what he's doing now, so they've worked out his role. So he's coming in less centre bounces, but what he's doing is he's coming up as a forward into stoppages in the forward half of the ground. So you have to now be on red alert when there's a stoppage anywhere between 40 and 80 metres out. Rayner comes up, a bit like what Dustin Martin used to do. Yeah. Play forward, but he had a licence to come up into stoppage. When it was anywhere sort of in the forward half of the ground. He can choose whether he wants to or not. And he's becoming potent because right now, and since that the bye period, at round 13, he's in, when he wins a clearance, 39% of them lead to a score, which is the best of any forward and 11th best of any player in the competition.
So what are the opposition? Why is it silly to allow him go by himself? What are they doing? They're just allowing him to go.
Well, watch this one. Look at Liam Ryan here. I reckon he wants this one again. So there he goes. He's off. And these have all been in the last few weeks. It's just become a real weapon for the opposition to try and combat. He's had 75% of his disposals in the forward half of the ground. And I mean, talk about finals, Kingy, coming up to finals and who can separate a final. Like, that's Dustin Martin, like. You know, we know he's always had the talent. He's always had this in him. We haven't seen him string it together for as long as he has now. This has been an 8-week block. It even goes further. I just had a little comparison of his numbers to Dylan Moore, who everyone's talking is an All-Australian. They're not that far off someone like a Dylan Moore with the year that he's had. So I just think he's building beautifully for finals and going really nicely. But the one caveat for everything they're doing so well, Robbo, is Will Ashcroft's only just sort of building. Still got a fair way to go. Charlie Cameron is having his lowest rated year of his career. And Zach Bailey is having his fourth lowest rated year, like for 4 years, sorry, he's having his lowest rated year. They've still got upside. So this Brisbane team have still got Charlie Cameron to go to another level, Zach Bailey, who we saw do it last year in the final series, and a young Will Ashcroft. It's pretty scary for the rest of the competition.
And Dane Zorko to just keep doing what he's doing.
He's rolling beautifully.
Yeah. What about one of the other premiership favourites? And I feel silly for saying that given they're 8th on the ladder, but the Bulldogs. There's always a degree of selflessness with premiership teams, and you can see that similar vibe with the Bulldogs and how they're playing at the moment.
Yeah, I think the great teams, the premiership teams, have those intangibles. They're not necessarily evident on a stat sheet. We see them when we watch games of football, and they're probably in the numbers around contests and those sorts of things. But the more I watch the Dogs, the more I see this. They got a man who got tagged on the weekend. Jordan went to Ed Richards, and they said, well, we're not going to let you have that. We're going to try and block and impact this matchup as often as we can. They get the change over there. Heaney panics, tackles, gives away a free kick. But that's not the only time it went on. This went on all through the first quarter, to the point where, more often than not, Richards was getting 2-3 metres at every stoppage. In the end, they broke the tag. At quarter time, they said, we're getting more to clearance. We're over-investing in what we're trying to get. They're beating us at this. We have to break it. Scoreboard says 6 goals to 1. Got to make change. There's Libba coming in, block on the way in. And then Richard says, well, Libba, you stay there. I'll block your man out and you can have some spoils. So it works for all, the mentality of it all. But Grant Thomas said something on radio with us a couple of weeks ago. He said, you know, he said, footy's not really about footy. And it sort of struck me, and I thought, these guys are reflecting with one another what's working in game. Hey, mate, really appreciate that. Let's keep going. Let's build. There's a trust. There's a buy-in. And I just feel like I haven't seen this at the Dogs for most of the year. Haven't seen it for a little while. I don't see it with some of the top teams in the competition right now. I really only see it at a couple of clubs. And it's not until you look for it that you see it. Have a look on the weekend and just watch what the Dogs do for one another. Last year we talked about, or 2 years ago we talked about Melbourne pointing, blocking, yeah, hey, you got him, you got him. And then we talked about the Swans as they left stoppage, pointing to one another, he's yours, he's yours. I think it's front and centre now with the Dogs, and that's why it's so powerful.
Do you think Hawthorn makes the 8?
Well, if Hawthorn make the 8, they'll beat the Giants and Carlton, which will allow the Dogs to make the top 4. I think the Dogs will win all 4. And if Hawthorn beat the Giants and Carlton, they're finishing in the top 4.
Have you seen the Giants run home?
Yeah, and well, they only have to lose one to lose their position, really. So I'm a big believer in the Dogs, and if they were lucky enough to get to 4th, I mean, that's a whole different conversation. But building like this, I don't care where they finish.
They're damaging, aren't they?